If you've had a concussion and you still don't feel like yourself weeks or months later, you're not imagining it and you're not alone. Today, I want to break down what's actually happening in your brain and your body and what tends to keep people stuck and what real recovery looks like, because the answer is not rest and wait. A concussion is a functional brain injury. That means it changes how your brain works, not how it looks like on a scan. When your head or body takes a sudden force, your brain shifts inside the skull. That movement disrupts the chemical environment your neurons depend on to communicate, and that's what drives your symptoms. Here's the thing that most people don't know. The vast majority of concussions don't involve losing consciousness at all. If you feel foggy, off, or just not right after a hit or an accident, that counts. And a normal MRI doesn't mean nothing's wrong. It means the imaging tool being used is not exactly the right one for this kind of injury. So why do some people recover in a few weeks while others stay struggling for 6 months or later? It comes down to a few things. One, sometimes it's the neck. The forces around your brain almost always strain the muscles and joints in the upper cervical spine, and that alone can generate headaches, dizziness, balance problems that look exactly like a concussion symptoms. Two, the vestibular system. This is your balance and spatial orientation system. A concussion can throw it completely off, and without specific rehab, those symptoms, things like dizziness when you turn your head or nausea in a busy parking lot, they tend to hang around. Number three, vision. Your brain uses an enormous amount of energy to process visual information. After a concussion, many patients can't keep their eyes on a target. They can't shift their gaze quickly and struggle to read because of it. And then there's sleep, stress, nutrition, hormone function. All these affect how well the brain can heal. When someone comes to see us, we don't just start with assumptions. We do a full evaluation that looks at all these systems. We assess the neck, the vestibular function, balance, dynamic vision testing, and see how all these systems are working together. And sometimes they look at gut health, hormonal markers, because the gut-brain connection is real and it matters for recovery. Our goal isn't just to confirm you've had a concussion. The goal is to find exactly which systems are still struggling so that your care plan targets the right things in the right order. And I do want to be clear, if you or someone you know has serious symptoms like repeated vomiting, people that's larger than other, worsening a headache that won't respond to rest, slurred speech or confusion after an injury, it's best to get checked out by the emergency room and primary care to make sure there's not a brain bleed or something more serious. Once we know what's driving your symptoms, we work through a structured 4-phase recovery process. Phase 1 is all about calming system. If your brain is still highly irritable, we meet it there. Gentle cervical work, early vestibular regulation, vagal nerve stimulation all help shift the nervous system into healing mode. We're not pushing you, we're stabilizing you. Phase 2 is about restoring your function. This is where we get active. We train the vestibular system, the visual pathways, the neck receptors. We're essentially rebuilding the communication pathways that got disrupted. Phase 3 is rebuilding capacity. We start loading the system more progressively. Exercise comes back in. We challenge you cognitively. We're preparing your nervous system to handle everyday life. Phase 4 is returning to life, whether that's sports, school, work, or just being able to take your kids to a busy restaurant without leaving with a headache. We track every objective throughout the whole process to make sure that we're getting lasting results. Depending on what the evaluation shows, we may incorporate some additional tools to support the process. We use shockwave therapy to clean up any myofascial trigger points and or degeneration in the neck that could be contributing. We also use class 4 laser to reduce inflammation in the brain or the neck. And one of my favorites is vagal nerve stimulation because it calms down the system and reduces inflammation and allows you to start healing again. The tech supports the rehab. It doesn't just replace it. I'm going to give you a quick example of what this looks like in practice. We had a 16-year-old soccer player come in 6 weeks after a concussion during a match. Her MRI was normal. She'd been told to rest, but she couldn't get through a school day because screens gave her headaches in under 30 minutes. And she had daily head pain that was rated 7 out of 10. When we evaluated her, we found significant restriction in her neck, vestibular hypersensitivity, convergence insufficiency in the eyes, all contributing to her symptoms. By week 2, her headaches were already down to 2 to 3. By week 4, she was tolerating 2 hours of screen time and completing her aerobic exercise without symptoms. By week 8, she had completed a full return to play protocol and she was back on the field. That's what a structured multi-system approach looks like. Not magic, just the right rehab at the right time. If any of what I've described sounds familiar, the first step is simple. Come in, let us take a look. Your first visit is a conversation. No pressure, no assumptions, just answers. You can book a complimentary consultation online at calibrationmansfield.com. And if you want to understand more before you come in, download our free concussion recovery guide. The link is in the description. I'm Dr. Joe Adams at Calibration Brain and Body, Mansfield, Texas, and you don't have to keep waiting this out.